Before I get started on the sermon, let me take a moment to thank Linda and Myron and Mark, the other Mark, Cody's Mark, for all the hard work of setting up this opportunity for me to come be a part of your journey these next few months. I'm truly excited about it. And some of you may know that a couple of years ago, I had an event that I wasn't expected to survive, but I did. And I share that with you because I want to say two things before we get started. One is just this past week, there was ice on the front step of my porch in Oak Cliff, and I didn't see it. And I've got stuff in both hands, but luckily I had my top coat on. And so I hit that ice, and I go flying because I hate steps, and I hit one of the concrete steps right in the middle of my back. And I'm laying there, my wife's with me, and she's screaming, and oh my God. And I'm laying there thinking, uh-oh. In the first instance, I'm thinking, oh my, I get to be a paraplegic. And then the next moment I thought, wait a minute, I may be able to get up. And I stood and not sore, but I was fine. And so we get in the car, and we're driving away, and my wife was looking at me, shaking her head, and I said, well, I guess it's true. And she said, what? I said, I really am immortal. It did not make her happy. But I say that to say that, in a couple of years since, people ask me, how are you feeling? And I've developed this comment that I make now where I say, I'm feeling dangerous. So I warn all of you good people like Westside Circle, I'm feeling dangerous. And I am curious about how much trouble we can get into in these next 6 months. Full war. I feel like you're still clapping after the 6th month. I hope you read the blurb I sent about this morning's sermon. I wrote that our Unitarian Universalist congregations frequently express the desire to become more diverse. Some of us even have a specific picture of what that would look like, and when we don't achieve the diversity we seek, we scratch our heads and wonder why, lamenting how a progressive group of people like us can't attract the progressive folks in those other demographics. But I've come to believe that the fault isn't within, that it may actually be with us. I have another announcement. I was privileged to be asked by Susan Smith again, who some of you know, to come back to the Dwight Brown Leadership Experience this coming summer. And I've done it, I did like 8 years in a row, first as a student in 2003, and then as chaplain and staff and faculty, and now I'm coming back as chaplain. So, if any of you have any ideas about maybe coming to Dwight Brown Leadership School, please come this summer. It's always in August, it's a week of intense training, and it always takes place now these last few years at Texas Women's University in Denton. It's a wonderful experience. There are scholarships available from Nautis or Intuit, etc. But I hope that a full contingent of folks from Westside will be there. I think we're allowed 3 or 4 per congregation if we want to. So if you've been thinking about it, do it. It is something that I have missed. And I will tell you that every time I go to something like that or the minister's retreat, I'm hoping for another epiphany. And I'm always worried that I won't have one. But even though this is going to be my 9th White Brown, I have every confidence that I will learn something that will set my socks on fire one more time. So come and be a part of that if you can. It was at White Brown a few years back that the basis of this reflection popped from. Susan said, come and do Dwight Brown. I said, I can't wait, I'm in. And then I remembered something that happened, and I tied it to my current church's future, and I want to tie it to yours. We're at a meeting, there's all these people, good folks from Unitarian Universalist congregations. We're having one of these skull sessions that's part of the week's intensive training. And someone stands up and says, well, my great wish is that my church could be more diverse. Pretty much the same reaction we got there. Stunned silence. Until I finally turned to her and I said, why? Susan stepped in and said, okay, how many people are from Texas? How many people are actually from Texas? Me neither. See how diverse we already are? But it goes deeper than that. And the question I asked again was, why do you want to be more diverse? And of course, the thing that went unsaid was what I said, we're great progressive people. We're welcoming. We tolerate everybody. Why wouldn't those people want to come and be with us? I don't know what it's like at this church, but I can tell you that at Oak Cliff, on an annual basis, we have more people come to visit than we have members. And for a long time, they didn't stay. They're staying now. A lot of them, which is really great. We had to change our thinking drastically. The idea of the other, in Unitarian Universalist terms, but also as citizens of the great state of Texas, takes two very important terms. As Unitarian Universalist churches, the problem is we advertise ourselves on every website as being this great, magnanimous, passionate, compassionate, welcoming congregation. And people show up and there's a process involved in almost every church I visit, and including my mind, hopefully until about 18 months ago. And that was somebody or some group of people, consciously or unconsciously, weeds out who can stay. Are they smart enough? Are they too broken for us? Are they willing to sing our songs and have the same world perspective as us? And if not, we chase them out. Chase them out. And part of it comes from something I've said before. We think we're pretty bright people. And we are. But there's a lot of really bright people that don't look like us, or come from a different religious tradition than us, maybe come from a different country than us, and they've got songs to sing and tales to tell. And we cannot consider ourselves complete as long as we're still drawing breath on this earth. There's always something else to learn. Always some better us waiting to be exposed. And the only way that can happen is if we look at that person that just came through the door, suspend our certainty about ourselves in the world, and allow ourselves to learn from them, to be improved by them. So many analogies of this. I know a church that thought that the great idea of being welcoming is they would do an afternoon potluck after every service and invite the world to come in. We're going to feed everybody. That's our way of being welcoming. But they wouldn't sit with the stranger at the table and share the meal and ask the story. Why are you here? How do you feel broken? What can I do to help you? How can you help me? Can you hear my story? I'm looking for somebody to share this uniqueness about myself and give me an insight that I don't currently have. We do that all the time. We're magnanimous with our generosity, but we don't gift ourselves to them, and we don't allow them to be a gift to us. But they are. Started working on my own congregation about this, and so how do we begin? I said, well, how about the next time somebody comes to the door, ask them to stay and tell you their story. Why don't we find out are they here because they have been discomforted with divorce? Or maybe a child committed suicide, or they lost employment. Maybe they're fighting an addiction. Or maybe they're just alone. And seeking to be in a group where they can be safe. And I will tell you, the first time I came to Unitarian Church, I was exactly the same way as that person I'm describing to you. I mean, I sat there and I thought, oh my God, these are smart people. They honor conscience. Curiosity is fine with them. I may have just found my people. Boy, we're the smart kids. We're just so terrific. I'm so glad I found you. And I realized at some point that that's not enough. It's wonderful to be smart. It really is. But that don't make change. I mean, doing the social justice work that Linda talked about, I really love it. But it's one thing to know all there is to know about a specific issue, but to change the world, to change the way that issue involves our humanity, you've got to be passionate about it. You've got to be emotional about it. You've got to let go and be moved by what you're trying to do. And if we're trying to build a great church, we've got to be moved by this. I don't know if brilliance ever changed anything, but I know passion, compassion, love can change things. How do we open ourselves up to that? So I want you to take a moment and I'm going to share where I think this begins in a certain way. In another life, I used to travel all over Texas, and so I was taken aback by two films that I saw in a personal driving experience. The first film was the one where they actually had something, a plane or something going from South Texas, and these herds of deer were coming and running through the brush and everything, right? They're migrating north out of Mexico. It was stunningly beautiful. The second film was a helicopter. You may have seen this one, where the helicopter's flying the birds, and the geese are migrating, and it's just like, oh my God, I was enthralled by this. It's actually flying with the birds. You see the birds right there. They're looking at the helicopter. This empathy is going on in this way. That's phenomenally gorgeous. But I've driven that same route by car. It's called Highway 77. It comes up from Brownsville to Harlingen and then up from Raymondville to Corpus Christi. I've driven that road at dusk when the deer are migrating, and I've seen whole families walking along the side of the road, extended families, with every possession they have on their back. And they're migrating for the same reason the deer do, and for the same reason the geese do. They're seeking something sustainable where they're headed that didn't exist where they just left. In the words that I find to describe that, other than the obvious ones of desperation and terror, is courage and magnificence. What a magnificent story of people wanting to risk everything to take care of their children, to create a difference for them, to join extended family that may already be here, or to create family in a new place so that their children can survive. Now, I know people, I know myself, as the oldest of the 9 kids. I've known those moments where parents make all these sacrifices to make sure that their children are fed. We do that all the time. But are we willing to make those sacrifices to make sure that your children are fed? And the next person through the door's children are fed. Or the children who are on their way get fed. How does somebody's child become more important than somebody else's? I don't get it. I know you don't either. But how do we change ourselves to accommodate this human migration that's taking place? And it's not just about finding a safe place to live. Sometimes they're coming for religious freedom. So when they walk through this door, they're migrating here for a reason too, aren't they? Will they find that freedom to be themselves here with you? Or will we be, I'm not sure you're one of us. Because you're too Christian, you're too Jewish, you're too pagan, you're too whatever, you're too Buddhist, you're too agnostic. And we do that. Subtly, but we do it. I would love to see us regain our synchronicity with our species. I heard something this week that just struck me, and I haven't been able to actually process it yet. But the statement was, we're the only species on the planet that organizes its own mass destruction. Is that who we want to be as Unitarian Universalists? I don't think so. And I notice that beautifully embroidered thing at the front desk that says, welcoming congregation. So I want to tell you, we haven't finished the work yet, but we're doing a really good job of being welcoming now to the LGBT community. Who thought that a Texas judge would do what he did? Oh my goodness. I never thought that in my lifetime we might actually have marriage equality in the state of Texas. But it could happen. In my lifetime, thank you to the doctors at the Health Harris Methodist for allowing me some bonus time that I might actually see that in my life. But there's more to it than just the LGBT community, right? There are a lot of people coming here. One second. So a couple of things that I want to say. First is, have you ever looked at our border with Mexico? It's the Rio Grande River. It doesn't look any different than Pedernales, the Frio, the Medina, the Oasis, the Trinity that comes. It's just a river. And none of those rivers go all the way to San Diego, California. So how do we separate ourselves from the other now? We're building a wall. Building a wall. All the way. What's going to happen to the deer? They need to migrate. And is the wall really going to keep anybody out? We've been to Matamoros. You can just go right out here to the ocean for 100 yards and then come back up the other side and you're on the other side of the wall. It's incredible. It's incredible. If you went to Tucson or Phoenix and turned south, I defy you to find the Mexican border. But it reminds me of this comedy routine that Bill Cosby used to do. When I was a kid, I loved Bill Cosby. And I was the oldest of 9 kids, as I said. So my 2 brothers and I came out first, and I was the oldest. So the 3 of us slept in a single bed, when my parents were young. And because I was the oldest, my head was at one side, and my other 2 siblings' heads were there. So then we used to do the thing that Bill Cosby talks about. We made these fake pretend borders in the bed. I don't want you touching me on my side of the bed. I don't even want your pajamas touching my pajamas on my side of the bed. It keeps us up all night fighting over territory, these imaginary boundaries. And then we would finally wake up the next morning in a pool of little boy sweat. But if we're going to become who we say we are, we have obligations as we look at the other in our culture and in our world. Brian Swinney and Mary Ellen Tucker wrote a book called Journey to the Universe. And they say something pretty startling. They say, I want to make sure I get this right here. It's estimated that 95% of all the laborers willing to work our farms are here illegally. But they say there's this overriding culture that we have shared and continue to share as human beings, as a species, that's crucial to our continued survival. That through 200,000 years of evolving together, we have shared our minds, we've shared our feelings with each other in story and art. We have preserved our hard-earned knowledge in forms that could accumulate over the centuries. So that our stories and achievements have been put on clay tablets and on cave walls, in encyclopedias and out on the internet. And every succeeding generation can now draw on the wisdom that our gifted brothers and sisters have learned and bequeathed to us. And we're participating in the input and the growth of that knowledge. And we do it in treatises, almanacs, poetry, plays, epics, scriptures, songs, sagas, storehouses of learning refined over millennia in both written and oral traditions. And nothing like this has ever existed before in the 4 billion years of this planet. We have become the simple making animal, and because nothing like this has existed before, we have been allowed as human beings to shake off the constraints of our species' location. And that has imprisoned almost 30,000 other species on this planet. You know how trees don't migrate necessarily from Europe to the United States. Birds don't really migrate from Mexico to Africa. But we have. And now because of this knowledge, our collective skill, we have been able to explode as a species and populate virtually every corner of this planet. It is unique to us. And as a result, we are able to now live in tundras and deserts. We survive droughts and monsoons and tsunamis and earthquakes, our plagues, and we have survived our own ignorance to this point. To this point. We are a planetary species, yes, but we pretend that we are separated by language or wealth, culture or custom, color or creed. Every person that comes through our doors in this church has a song to sing and a tale to tell. And it is a tale that we can learn from. It is a tale that we should learn from. It is a tale and a song that we must sing with them. One of the things that we changed it up with in our great social justice hearts, one of the things that came up was we should be doing ESL. Our church is in a place where it's 1/3 Latino, 1/3 African, 1/3 European, a smattering of other, and why are we doing ESL classes? Oh, there we go again, that magnanimous thing we're going to do. I said, how about before we do that we learn Spanish as a connotation? So that we can welcome these people and hear their stories in their language. Why don't we do what we're challenging them to do first? We're taking a journey together with this congregation of learning Spanish. I'm 64 years in Texas. And I can barely count in Spanish. Well, that's changing now. I'm a little bit more than that. I'm still not fluent, so I'll test it. But we're learning Spanish first so we can actually be partners to these people that come to our church. Now all of a sudden we're exploding. We've got about 25% of our congregation now, so we're intentionally doing the covenant every Sunday in English and in Spanish. We sing our hymn from UIW from UIC together. We sing it both in English and Spanish every Sunday. We're trying to build up a broad connection. Let's see if I can actually do a sermon in English and Spanish. That'll be a test. But my point is, it is an intentional thing about being welcome to the purest of the world. I want this faith that I have come to late in life that gives me goosebumps when I consider the power. I want it to be the transformative engine in this world that it deserves to be. I want us to be the vanguard of that transformation. To recap that book just briefly, because this I think is important, because there's a really salient truth in the book, and it is that there's no evidence that we are supposed to be isolated human beings. In fact, the exact opposite. That we arise out of an ocean of shared experience and understanding acquired by our species as a whole. And the legacy has allowed us to spread over the Earth's surface. And it's this shared human odyssey is really quite magnificent when we stop to consider it and look at it. But we must remove the fences around our hearts that make us sick. So, yeah, we're just about out of time. I've often cautioned my church about creating a beloved community, that it is honoring our humanness in each other. But to really do that, not just know it, but actually do it. It's difficult. But the knowledge required for our survival is collective and covenantal. The poet and novelist Reverend Walz said, learning to love others is the most difficult task entrusted to us. Yet it is the source of our greatest joy. That love is the ultimate task, the final test and proof, the work for which all other human work is but preparation. all the people on this earth are our planetary partners. And we need the gifts of each and every soul to continue the accumulation of knowledge and wisdom that will be essential to our success and our survival as a species. We must learn from each other and profit in important ways from each other's integrity. So that bonded and bound together in this rich sisterhood and brotherhood, we can truly build a church that heals, that saves, that binds up the broken within ourselves, and for those who are on their way, and for all the lives that we will reach out and touch. And for me, I will simply conclude by saying, when you finally figure out how you want your life to be, you want your life to get started right now. I think it's a line from a movie, The Very Best Selling. So we know what we want for ourselves, so let's make it happen. Please stand in body and or spirit and join us in our closing hymn. It's located in your orders of worship. The words are, "When our heart is in a holy place."